when you take actions, I mean, anybody, any country, there is a result. And whether the apparent rhetorics about the actions and the real end result are the same or not are usually debatable. Now, some say it is also debatable about the latest decision made by the Indian side regarding trade cooperation, regarding, technology cooperation. What do you make of it?
I'd like to just add a couple of points to what Dr. Hu has said. Very experienced man, he knows India and South Asia very well. And I just want to clarify one point, that when you made the question, you seem to link up what happened in Galwan Valley with the RCEP decision. I just want to clarify that India's decision on the BRI and the RCEP were taken before what happened in Galwan. So that is the first major point I want to make. The second is, as far as the decision by the Indian government about these apps, the Chinese apps, yes, it was arrived at after what happened in Galwan, and I would interpret this as one of the responses by the Indian side because of the same point that Dr. Hu made, that when you lose soldiers, and as you know, in India, the information is disseminated very widely. It's a democracy. We have a large number of TV channels that are constantly beaming news about national security. So there is a certain sentiment in the country. And to address that, I think the government has taken this step about the Chinese apps. Does it constitute a response in the trade domain? The answer is yes. But I just want to remind you that if you look at what has happened between United States and China over the last few years, ever since President Trump has come to the White House, there has been a similar attempt at trying to use trade as a means of leverage.
Mr. Bhaskar, if I could, since you use this logic, so is New Delhi trying to imitate the United States in your approach to the other countries, including to China? Is that what you're trying to suggest? New Delhi is learning from Washington today, learning from the Trump administration. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, madam, I'm not. I'm saying
then what
that
does that
every
mean?
country arrives at its own responses. And if you look at how countries have related to each other, trade, I'm saying, has been used. For instance, you can look at China, Japan.
What about China and India? What about China and India, sir? Since we're talking about China and India, and the border issue is totally a bilateral issue, as you know very well. What about this directly to our relationship, I mean, to China and India, rather we drag the other parties into this overall discussion? But maybe that's a question for you to ponder about. Mr. Hu